Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome to the fourth session of Android Study Jams. Last time we looked into Recycler View, and today we will be teaching you some very important concepts that are fragments and activity and fragment lifecycle, and then we will proceed with navigation components. So, Dhruv, are you ready?
Yes, Prasad, I'm ready.
Okay.
Okay, can we start, Prasad, now?
Yes, Dhruv, yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth study jam session of app development in Kotlin. And today we will be looking at activity, fragments, and the life cycles. So to start with, let's look at the most famously used word in Android development, which is an activity. So an activity is said to be the presentation layer of our applications. So it is anything that you see on the screen, which corresponds and constitutes the UI of our application. So it is anything that you interact with in the app is called as an activity. So now let's look at the activity life cycle. So life cycle of an activity is the stages that an activity goes through during its execution. So in this diagram, we can see that as soon as the activity is launched, first the on create method is called. So in this on create method, you define all the functions and variables that you need to be executed as soon as the activity is launched. You perform some crucial operations in this on create method. For example, you set the layout that you would be corresponding with a particular activity. Next, the on start method is called as soon as the activity becomes visible to the user and it comes to the foreground. Following which the on resume method is called here, which is called when the activity starts interacting with the user. And at this moment, we can safely say that the activity is in the state of running. Next, we see the on pause method, which is called when activity has lost its status of being in the foreground. So it is the first indication that the activity is leaving its status of foreground. So you can consider an example where in case of a news app, in case you want to share an app and intent filter pops up to choose the apps, for example, for to which you want to share this information to. So during this time, our activity is not completely in the state of foreground. It is masked by this intent filter. So this is the case where the on pause method is called. Next, the on stop method is called in two conditions. Firstly, when you have navigated to a completely different activity from the current activity, or in the second case, when there's a higher process or a higher priority process which needs some more extra memory for its execution. So this would consequently lead to the current activity being shut down. Next, the on destroy method is called when the activity is just about going to get destroyed. So this is the time when you clean all your resources that you have used in the activity so far. For example, you close your files that you have opened during the activity. And at the end, you see the on restart method. So this is called when the activity has already run and had stopped. And if you again wish to start the activity again, so that is the case when the on restart method is called. So let's just quickly look at an example to demonstrate the life cycle of an activity. So I'll create a project, new project here. I'll use the default template and and let's use a minimum SDK as 7.0 for now. So while the activities, while the project is loading, I'll quickly describe what the project is about. So the project would consist of two activities. The first activity would consist of a button, which would help us to navigate to the second one. And in the similar way, the second activity would help us to navigate back to the first activity by the use of a button. So let's just see right now if there are any queries till now. Okay, no queries yet. So I'm pretty sure that you know how the navigation takes place by the use of intents as it was explained in the previous study jams. So we will be using intents for this. Okay, so now let's just quickly make a button in the first activity here. Let's just make the text to go to activity 2, and let's assign an ID in here. So the button is already constrained. I've used the constraint layout for this. And let's just make a reference of this button here in our main activity file. Use the find view by ID method to get the access of the layout that we have combined with using the set content view method here. So we have used this btn go to activity 2 as the name, and let's just import the class button in here. So in this on click listener of this button, let's just switch to the second activity. So I'll set the on click listener here, and I'll call a private method here of switch activity. And let's make a quick small method in here of private activity. So private function. So using explicit intents now, we will navigate to the second activity here first. So let's just create a second activity here. So in this com.example.android lifecycle, just right click on it, and in the new drop down, you can see the activity drop down as well. And we need to create an empty activity here. So let's just keep the name of the activity to its default. And the activity is created. So let's just make an intent in the first activity here. So we need to import the intent here, intent class. We need to go from the current activity. So we use the this keyword to the class file of the next activity. So we use the main activity 2 class. And we need to start the activity here. We are done with the code for the first activity. So we need to do the same thing in the second one. So I'll define a button in here as well. I'll set the width and height to its wrap content and the text to go to activity 1. I'll assign an ID here for the reference in the class. As we are using the constraint layout, we need to constrain that to its parents here. So we'll set it at the center of the screen right now. You can assign various constraint as well. For example, the margins. So as it was explained in the previous sessions, that you can do it in the attributes section here. So we'll not be doing that right now. So let's just make a quick reference to the button in the second activity here. And here as well on the on-click listener, we'll call a function which will help us to navigate to the first activity. So we need to go from the current activity to the first activity here. So we give the class file of the first activity now. Let's start the activity. So this is the basic layout right now that we need to use for our project. But in the recent versions of Android Studio, a new constraint has been set out where you need to define the exported feature for the activity that you would be using as the main one. So here we need to define an attribute called exported. Otherwise, your app wouldn't run. So we need to assign exported as true here. So I'll be using the Android emulator here. Okay, so while the emulator loads, are there any questions raised? Okay. Vriddhi, please interrupt me if there are any questions raised. I'll just go on teaching right now.
Yes, Dhruv. Sure. Dhruv, there is a question. Prasad is asking if you can explain him the exported part once again.
Yeah, sure. So in the latest version of Android Studio right now, so you need to assign a exported property. Otherwise, the activity won't, it won't run. So I'll show that once again. So it is basically for the broadcast intents. So in case your app is using broadcast intents, you need to assign this property. I'll just show it. Yeah, it will be clear. So this was introduced in the latest Android 12 version. So I don't think the previous versions of Android Studio have that. Okay. So if you see, this is the first activity having the button. Yeah, so this is the first activity having the button, which would help us to navigate to the second one. And if we click on this, we go to the second activity, which would help us to navigate to the first activity. So this is the basic part right now. So I'll quickly show you what happens if we do not include this statement here. So this would raise an error here. As you can see that in the most latest version of Android 12, you need to explicitly define the value of Android exported. So this is basically using the intent filters here. So in every activity that you're using intent filters, you need to define a property of exported. So I think that answers your question, Prasad, now.
The exported only needs to be done for the main activity, right?
In all the activities that you are defining as an intent filter. So you will be learning in the future about broadcast receivers. So they are used to receive information from the other activities. So in that situation as well, you need to assign exported as true.
Okay.
So if you see in here in the second activity that we have created, we do not need to assign exported as true. So it is not needed in those activities where you're not providing intent filters. Yeah. So now let's just assign the lifecycle methods and let's just see how that's working. So we can override the methods here. So I'll just do a println here to see how the execution is going on. I'll just override all the methods in here. So on start. So for all of you who do not know, if you want to override any functions that's already present, so you can right click in the code window and you can choose the generate option in here. And there's an option of override methods. So you can find all the methods that you want to override from here as well. Also, if you are creating a custom class and you want to make getters and setters, you can do that from here as well. So that would be contained in here if you are creating a custom class. I'll just overload it for right now. restart. Okay, so I think I've overridden all the methods here. So let's just see when and how the methods are called. So in the run-in, you will see the methods as and when they are called. Yes. Okay, so I'll navigate to the second activity firstly. So as you can see that the on create, on start and on resume method are being called as this diagram shows in here. And the on create, on start and on resume method is called. So at this point, the activity is in the state of running. So next, let's just navigate to the first activity back again. So during this time, the activity is calling the on pause and the on stop method. So from what you can conclude from this is that activity is no longer in the state of running and activity one is now in the state of running. So if we again go back to the second activity, the on create, on and on resume method is called again. Next, if you minimize this activity, you see again that the on pause and on stop method is called. So during this time as well, the activity is not running. The activity is in the state of stop. And now if you again move back to the activity, you can see that the on restart method is called. So this is happening because there is no another activity which was called after this activity. Whereas in the case of buttons, you see that the on restart method was not called because at that time the activity one was at the top. So another interesting case is when you click on the back button in here. So this time you see the on destroy method is called, which was not called previously. So I'll explain this at the end of the lecture why this is happening. Okay, so I think I've explained all the methods and it has covered everything. Okay, so this next slide is basically the accumulation of all the methods. So this is just for your reference. Okay, so now we start with fragments. So till now, are there any doubts regarding activities and the life cycle? Okay, I think Sachit's doubt has been cleared. Okay, so we can move forward to fragments now. So a fragment is basically a reusable portion of your app's UI. So it is basically a sub activity. So in case you want to create something that is modular in shape and you want to divide your activity into parts where you can reuse them in other activities, you use fragments in such a scenario. So fragments come handy when you want to use it in multiple places. Also, the life cycle of fragment is related to the activity, but it's completely different as well. So we'll see that later. So this is an example of the fragment activity where in a case where you want to use Google Maps, you need to embed it within a fragment container. So we will use the fragment key, fragment tag there to embed the Google Maps. And here, if you want to display the charts as well, you use the fragment. So this has a completely different class of fragment, and you can include this at any activity that you wish. So let's just look at the uses of fragments. So to make apps lightweight, so what does that mean? So in case of an activity where you need to define all the layout in a same file, you can divide it further into different fragments which can be used. So all of the burden of the UI rendering is not totally laid upon the activities layout. Next, to construct a UI component. So as I explained that once you create the fragment, you can link it with any activity and you can use it wherever you want to. So to make efficient use, so this is also explained, and flexibility to control different parts. So into an activity, it is interrelated in the sense that the fragment in the activity in which you embed the fragment, the life cycle of both of them would be related to each other, but the life cycle of the fragment is independent as well. So let's just define and create a fragment firstly before we see the example. So to create a fragment, we'll be creating it in the second activity here. So we'll be using the fragment tag. We define the width as a match parent and the height as 300 dp, and let's just give it a margin of 30 dp here. So there are two conditions that need to be taken care of, which are very, very important. Firstly, every fragment must be given a name, otherwise an error would be displayed. And secondly, you need to define the name, which would be the name of the fragment class, which would be linked to the current holder. So I'll explain that later. So, okay, so now this is just a container. There is no fragment that is linked to this current fragment holder. So we'll just give constraints to it. Okay, so I think this has been taken care of. So to create a fragment, you need to create a fragment class. So like you have created a class for each and every activity, you need to create a different and separate class for each fragment as well. So you do that from here only. So we go to new, we go to fragment here, and you choose the type of the fragment that you want to create. So for us, we just want to create a blank fragment. We choose the blank fragment option, and let's just keep the name to its default. So in here, if you see that the layout of each fragment is also separate. So if you look at the code here, let's just first make the layout to constraint. And here is a text view. So let's just, hello from back. Okay, so let's just keep this at default and let's just increase the size of it. As we are using a constraint layout, let's just give some constraints to it. We'll keep the width and height to the wrap content, and we'll align it to the center of the screen. And let's just give it a background color so that we see what is the difference between the activity and the fragment that we are entering. And let's just make the color here to white. Okay, so now what we have done is we have created a different class for fragment, but we have not yet linked it with the fragment holder. So if you go to the second activity here, this is just a container. This wouldn't display anything for now. So let's just see what this would render. So this should right now return two errors. Firstly, because we have not defined any ID for a particular fragment, and second, we have not defined the fragment which is to be rendered in this holder. Okay, so we navigate to the second activity and you see that there's a total stack trace being printed here. And if you navigate somewhere between these lines, you can see this line where it says that you must specify a unique ID for a fragment. So let's just give it an ID of fragment itself. So now you will get another error in here. because we have not yet defined the fragment class which would be linked to this holder. So let's just see that. Yes, so here you see that there's an error inflating the class fragment. So this happens when you have not linked the fragment class that you want to be rendered. So we do this by the usage of a name attribute. So in here we use the class name of the fragment that we wanted to render. So we use the blank fragment. So in this class, you wouldn't see the UI of the fragment yet, but when you run it, you can see that. Okay, so you see this that there's a blank fragment which is black of color, and the entire screen of black, which is representation of the blank fragment that we have created. And this activity of this button is related to this activity in here. So that's how you create a fragment. And now let's see the life cycle of a fragment. So as I've already said that the life cycle of a fragment is independent to that of an activity. So when you have created a fragment, firstly, the on attach method is called, which is called as soon as you have attached the fragment to a particular activity, like we have done using the name attribute. Next, the on create method is called when the fragment is created, following which the on create view method is called. So this is called when you have started to render the UI of a particular fragment, following which the on activity create method is called. So this is called when the activity in which you are rendering the fragment completes its execution of the on create method, following which the on start method is called. So this signifies that the activity is now in the state of foreground. And the on resume method is called when the activity, when the fragment starts interacting with the user. So corresponding to the on resume method, the on pause method is called. So this signifies a state where the fragment is starting to leave the application activity that it's linked to. And the on stop method is called in here when the fragment is not currently in foreground. So in relation to the on create view, the on destroy view is called. So this is called when you want to clean all the resources that you have used in case of the UI that you have rendered. And the on destroy method is called is used to clean all the rest of the resources that you have used. So the last method called is on detach. So this is called at the end, which is used to signify that the fragment is no longer related to the activity and has detached itself from it. So let's just see the example for it. So we'll define the methods, override the methods in here. So we'll do that quickly right now. Okay, so are there any other methods? So this on activity created method is now depreciated. So yes, it is depreciated, so it cannot be used anymore. So I think we have implemented all of the activities. Okay, so let's just see a quick example of how it's running. Okay, so as soon as navigate to the second activity here, you can see that the fragment first gets attached to the activity, following which the on create method is called. So this would signify that the fragment is created. Then the on create view method is called. So during this, the fragments UI is getting rendered. So after this, the on start and the on resume method is called of the fragment. So this would signify that the fragment is now in the foreground. So if I navigate back to the first activity here, so you can see that the fragment on pause and on stop method is called. So this would mean that the fragment is no longer in the state of foreground, just similar to the life cycle methods of an activity. So similarly, we see the other use case of pressing the back button. So in this case, the fragments on pause, on stop, on destroy view, and on destroy method is called as well. And the fragments finally gets detached. So it is no longer related to the current activity. And if you try and minimize it, you can see that the on pause and on stop method would be called just as the methods of the activity are called as well. So these are the three use cases to display the life cycle. So I'll explain why this is happening. So in Android, there's something called as an activity stack or a task. So the Android stack consists of all the activities that the user is currently using. So what happens is when you open a current open an activity, it's the activity gets pushed onto the stack. And in a case where you are navigating to the second activity, the object of the second activity gets pushed onto the stack and is now currently at the top of the stack. And in a case where you press the back button, the object of the activity gets popped off from the stack. So that is how the on destroy and on restart methods are working. So when the on destroy method is called, what's happening is that the activity's object is being removed from the Android stack or the task. And in the state of the restart as well, that's how the Android is figuring out, because if the activity's object is already present in the stack, so that would mean that the activity is already being executed. So that's how the Android internally works. Okay, so
Will the on pause and on stop methods be called simultaneously or together always?
sorry, could you repeat?
Like whenever you were doing the processes, the on pause and on stop were getting called together. Will that always happen?
No, that's not always together. So as I've explained that in a case, for example, of a news app, if you want to share something and a dialog pops up, for example, or there's something called as an intent filter. So for if you want to share an app, there appears a list of apps where you want to share WhatsApp or whatever the list comes up. So during that time, the activity has not completely lost its status of foreground. So it is just masked by a dialog or an intent filter. So during this time, only the on pause method is called, not the on start method or not the on stop method. So in a case where you, for example, the activity gets navigated to the second one, both of them are called. So that's what I'm saying, that if the on stop method is called, on pause would be called, but it's not necessarily the condition in vice versa.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. Okay, so these are the list of methods. This is just for your reference. And this is the list of methods of activity and fragment in the order in which would be executed. So this also can be seen in here. Yes, so this is a small correction that the on detach method would be called before the activities on destroy method. So that makes sense. Yes, so this is done. So I like to hand over now to Vriddhi to explain the further process of navigation. Thank you.
Yes, Dhruv, thank you so much for that explanation. It was really great listening to you. Okay, so am I audible to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Then I'll get started. Give me 1 minute. I'll present. Okay. So is my screen visible? Nice. All right. So today I will be teaching you guys the navigation component, and it's really important because it makes your work easy. You know, now Dhruv explained you guys about fragments, right? So there should be a way in which we can navigate between these fragments. Obviously, we can use intent like how we do in case of activities with a small difference for fragments, but using intent in each and every fragment ka code file, we can directly use the nav graph, that is the navigation graph, and using that we can navigate between different fragments that we have created. Okay, so I'll start with the basic explanation first. Okay, so navigation component. So basically, Android Jetpack's navigation component helps you implement a navigation from simple button clicks to more complex patterns such as app bars and navigation drawer. So the navigation component also ensures a consistent and predictable user experience. Okay, so it's like it also makes easy for the coder, and it also makes easy for the user to navigate between different activities or fragments. Sorry, between different fragments actually. Right. So this theory is very boring, but still it is very, very important to understand what are the three basic parts or three key parts of a navigation component. Okay. So first coming to the navigation graph. Okay. So navigation graph is an XML resource that contains all navigation related information in one centralized location. Okay. So basically this includes all of the individual content areas within your app. So these individual content areas are called as destinations, and these destinations can be your fragments. Okay, and it also includes the possible paths that a user can take between these fragments. Now suppose if I'm in the dashboard and I wish to go to my account setting, so there has to be a navigation drawer on the side from where I can click on the account settings and I can go to that particular fragment. Okay, so it we have to define such paths in our navigation graph. Okay, coming to the second part of our navigation component, it is navhost. So navhost is an empty container that displays destinations from your navigation graph, and the navigation component contains a default navhost implementation, that is the navhost fragment that we will be using today in our code. Uh, that displays fragment destination. So I can say that navhost is just like a container that has all the destinations that you have defined in the navigation graph. Okay, coming to nav controller. Okay, so nav controller is an object that manages app navigation within a nav host. So as I told you before, that nav host is a container that has all the destinations of from the navigation graph. So there has to be, there has to be a way to navigate among like between these destinations. So that navigation is done by nav controller. Okay, so see, it is written also, the nav controller does the swapping of destination content in the nav host as users move through your app. So nav controller holds the responsibility of navigating between fragments. Okay, so now I'll go in a little detail regarding navigation graph. So navigation occurs between your app's destinations. Now, these destinations can be your fragments, as I told you, and it can be anywhere in your app to which users can navigate. Like whatever you have to define in your navigation graph. If you wish that your user should go to account settings from the dashboard, then you have to define that in your navigation graph. Okay, so the destinations, that is the fragments in the navigation graph, are connected with the help of actions. Okay, so a navigation graph is like a resource file. It's an XML file that contains all of your destinations and actions, and these destinations are different content areas or fragments in your app. Now, one activity can have multiple fragments. Even a fragment can have a nested fragment or a child fragment. So, all these all this compose of destinations. Basically, if one activity has two fragments, then those two fragments will become the destinations, or to which the user can reach from that particular host activity. Okay, and actions are logical connections between your destinations that represent paths that user can take. I guess action must be clear to you, because I already told you that we need to define action so that your user can go from one fragment to another. Okay, so this is actually an example. So this figure shows a visual representation of a navigation graph for a sample app, and it consists of, I guess, 6 destinations connected by 7 actions. So each destination here is represented by a thumbnail, a preview thumbnail. You will be able to see this when we will be coding the nav graph part. So you will be able to see the preview thumbnail of each fragment in the nav graph resource file. Okay. So these connecting actions are represented by arrows that show how users can navigate from one destination to another. See, the thing about making a navigation graph is you can either code it or you can either do it on the editor. Doing it on the editor, you can make arrows between fragments, add fragments. So the code will be automatically generated, and it becomes easier for you to go along. Okay, so this is actually an example of a navigation graph for a quiz game between two players. As you can see, there is a title screen, there is a register screen, and then after that the match begins. Okay, and then the question fragment comes, and after that the game over. After you answer a question, and if it is wrong, then your game gets over, and if it is right, you win. Right. So this is how a navigation graph looks. Now navigating to a destination. Okay, you have given all the destinations and actions in your navigation graph, but now you need to have some sort of mechanism to go from one fragment to another. So this is done by nav controller and nav host. First I'll explain you what is nav controller, then I'll go to nav host. So nav controller, see, navigating to a destination is done using a nav controller, which is an object that manages app navigation within a nav host. I told you in the previous slide as well. Okay, so each nav host will have its own corresponding nav controller. Whenever you are doing navigation or using this navigation component, there will be two things. One will be the host, the host activity or the host fragment, and the other will be the fragment generated from that host fragment, right? So you have to, basically in our project, we have made the main activity as the host activity, and the fragments generating from it as the destinations from the host activity. Okay, so nav controller provides a few different ways to navigate to a destination, which are further described in these sections, in these points below. So to retrieve the nav controller for a fragment, activity, or view, we use one of these following methods. See, uh, at the bottom of the screen, it's written under Kotlin. These are the three methods that we use to get the nav controller for a fragment, for a view, and for an activity. Okay, so yeah, this is, you don't have to actually memorize it, because whenever you type find nav controller, or even if you type find nav, it will come in the suggestion. So you don't have to worry about that. Coming back, now what is this save args plugin? Okay, so this is used to navigate with type safety. So the recommended way to navigate between destinations is to use the save args Gradle plugin. Okay, so this plugin generates simple object and builder classes that enable type safe navigation between destinations. All right. So see, there might be a case where you are transferring one object, maybe a string, from one fragment to another fragment. So in this cases, it's recommended to use safe arcs. Okay. So now here, so coming back to nav host. So navigation host is a single context or a container for navigation via nav controller. So it is strongly recommended, like it's basically like, okay, it's recommended to construct the nav control by instantiating a nav host controller, which which actually offers additional APIs specifically for a nav host. Okay, so the externally accessible, the nav host controller should only be accessible as a nav controller rather than directly exposing it as a nav host controller. So it should only be accessible as a nav controller. You can't expose it as a nav host controller. And navigation host must have, must do these three things that are listed on this slide. So we have to, the navigation host, the navigation host have to handle saving and restoring their controller state. Second, it has to call navigation.setViewNav controller on their root view. Now, what is this set view nav controller? Itna bada word hai. So it associates a nav controller with the given view, allowing developers to use find nav controller and with that particular view or any of its children to retrieve the nav controller. Okay, so this is generally called for you by the hosting nav host. Uh, so this was this like this is what is set view nav controller. And the third point is root system back button events to the nav controller either by manually calling nav host controller dot pop backstack or by calling nav host controller dot set on back pressed dispatcher when constructing the nav controller. इतने बड़े बड़े वर्ड्स है, टेंशन मत लो, इट्स रियली इजी. इसका एक ही सिंपल मीनिंग है, अगर हम ऐप में आगे जा रहे तो पीछे भी आना पड़ेगा. अगर तुम्हारे ऐप में तुम आगे जा रहे हो, पीछे नहीं आ रहे हो, then no one will use your app. Okay, there has to be a mechanism to get back from where you started. All right, इतना ही मीनिंग है इसका. Okay, so ये हो गया PPT. Now अभी बताओ कोई डाउट्स है तुम लोग को for nav host? I guess है. Do you guys have any doubts in nav host or nav host? Second point, which one? For nav host, Sanchit? Okay, so second point, right? So are you asking about set view nav controller? Okay. So see, set view nav controller, what it does is it attaches a nav controller with the given view. Whatever view that you have for a fragment, it attaches the nav controller to that, and it allows the developer to find the nav controller. See, you can navigate only when you have nav controller, and for that you need to find it. Okay, nav controller will be in your nav host. Like suppose now our main activity is the host for our navigation. So we will be defining the nav controller there first, and then when we need to use that nav controller in some other fragment, we have to write this function find nav controller. You will see that when I'll code, whenever you have to implement an action that you have defined in the nav graph, you need to find this nav controller and pass that particular action in that, so that so that the user can do that particular action, right? So what it does, it allows the developers to use the find nav controller with that view or any of its children to retrieve the nav controller. Okay, so if suppose the host has two fragments, fragment 1 and fragment 2, so fragment 1 can retrieve the nav controller and fragment 2 can also retrieve the nav controller that way. Are you clear, Sanchit? Kind of, yes. Okay, so any other doubts by anyone? I right. I'll then go ahead. Okay, so now I would like to request you all to open your news app so that you can code along with me. Let me know when you start, okay, so that even I can start. Android Studio चालू होने में टाइम लगता है काफी. Okay, so is my screen visible? Android Studio is visible. Can anyone confirm that? Okay, thank you, thank you. All right, so let's begin. So, so the first change that you will make is in the login activity. Now, if you have opened your Android Studio and if you have opened your news app, then please go to the Kotlin file of login activity. After going there, we have to add an intent over here so that whenever you start your whenever you start your application, the first thing that should open is the login page if you are not logged in, okay, in that case. So that part we will be doing in Firebase authentication, but for now, let's put an intent over here because we will be changing the main activity, the code for main activity, and now main activity will just become a host, okay, for the recycler view and for the content of the news. So I'll explain you, don't worry about that, but for now you need to add an intent over here. So I'll name this login intent. Login activity. If I'm going fast, then you can unmute yourself and stop me. I'll explain that part again. So now, upon clicking the login button, if the credentials are, if the fields are not empty, then you will be redirected to the main page of the app. So one more thing that we have to change is in the Android manifest file. Here, as you can see, two things are defined. One is login activity and other is main activity. So you will change this login activity to main activity and this main activity to login activity. Now, whenever you start your application on your phone or on your emulator, then the login activity will be opened first. Okay, why am I doing this is because see, now the main activity has become the host. So if if main activity starts first, then the fragment will start. Okay, but we don't want that. We have to somehow show them the login activity, or else we won't be able to go back to login activity if the fragment starts first. So in this case, we are making this small change over here in the Android manifest file and in login activity file. So is this clear? Okay, nice, Sanchit. Okay, now, uh, now these changes are done. Okay, so let's get back to making fragments for our project. So we will be making two fragments. One will be for the recycler view and other for viewing the content of any selected article. Okay, so last time Aziz explained you how to make a recycler view and he even made a scrollable list out of it, right? And you must have observed that each item in the list had a title and a photo and a picture. It's a picture also, right? So we have to make such a feature that if I click on the headline of that particular news or the title of that particular news in the list, then the content of that particular news should open. Okay, so for this we are making two fragments. Okay, so the basic thing that we are doing here is we have to move our recycler view from main activity to a new fragment. Okay, so doing this is very easy. You can follow me first. Follow me for doing that. First, let's make a fragment. And I will name this as list fragment. Now this list fragment will consist our recycler view and not the main activity. Previously, the recycler view, like the list of items was defined in our main activity, but we won't do this now. We will segregate them into fragments. So now I have created a new fragment. It will take some time to sync the project. Ignore all this, it's just my Android Studio reacts sometimes, I don't know why. But yeah. So okay, so the Kotlin code is generated for the list fragment. Okay. Now let's remove these parts until the sync finishes. Let's remove these parts which we don't need. We don't need this. We don't need the companion object too. Okay. So let us remove these parts. Okay, so I guess the sync is done. Sync is done. All right. So let's set the UI of our fragment list. So go to the XML file of main activity and select this recycler view from there. Go to the XML file of main activity and select the recycler view wala tag, like this whole entire part from there. Cut it and paste it in place of text view. 1 second. So as you can see, some errors are raised over here. That's because we are not using the namespace for app. So you can take that particular namespace from here. This. Now it's gone. We'll change the layout to constraint layout. Okay. So till here, is it done? Can anyone confirm? Or should I repeat?
Can you tell again about the namespace part?
Yes, sure. See, this particular line, it was not there in the fragment part. Hence, we were getting these errors. Okay, but it was there in this main activity. See, the namespace for app. As you can observe, the error here we are getting in these 4 lines where we have used app instead of Android. So we need to include a namespace to remove that particular error. So can you see the namespace here, which is in gray color?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you need to copy this, and then you have to go and paste it over here. See, now all the errors are removed because we added the namespace for app.
Yeah,
Is it clear?
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, so the UI of fragment list is created. Now let's get back to the Kotlin file. Aziz has already explained you view binding and how you do it. So even I will be using view binding over here. I won't be using find view by ID functions anymore. Okay. Just a second. Dot layout dot fragment list. Here you have to pass the layout of that particular fragment. So this is done. And okay, now the process of binding a fragment is a little different from binding an activity. It's a little different, but obviously you will find some similarities as I code. Fragment list. Now this fragment list binding, this is already automatically created actually. Okay, why? Because in the Gradle file, I'll show you. In this app level Gradle file, you have already set the view binding as true. इसलिए here this fragment list binding is automatically created. Import में भी अगर देखोगे ना, it's getting imported automatically, right? So you don't have to create it. Okay. is equals to null. Okay. Now we will do private. We need to get that binding. So private binding get equals to, we'll use that variable. Now, as I told you, in this list fragment, we will be having a recycler view. So we need to define a variable for that too. A recycler view is already explained to you guys by Aziz. So I'll just shift the recycler view from main activity to this list fragment. Okay. Okay. So this is done. Now go inside this view part and wait. Okay. Binding equals to fragment. No, we won't keep inflator over here. Fragment list binding dot list. No. Why is it an error over here? Okay, okay. Inflator. So this part is done, and always we will return the root of like the binding dot root. This is the same that we do in activity as well. Binding dot root. Okay, so next thing that we will be doing is we will be creating an on destroy view over here first. Sorry. Override fun on destroy view for binding. Sorry, binding equals to null. So this on destroy view is called when the view previously created by on create view has been detached from the fragment. Okay, so this call can occur if the host activity has stopped, or the activity or that particular activity has has removed this list fragment. So when this happens, then on destroy view is called. So we have defined that. So till now is everyone with me? Okay. Okay, so I shall continue. Now, as I told you, we need to take the recycler view from main activity to the list fragment. So let's go to main activity code. See, now you can see the errors over here because we have removed the recycler view ka tag from the XML file of main activity. So we will first cut this out from here and we'll go and copy paste it under view like this. Instead of this, we need to use activity. This small change has to be done over here. Rest all remain same. Is it clear? Itna kiya, Sanjit? Nice. Very good. Okay, so now we have set our recycler view. Now let's go and make another fragment for our content view. That is the page where the entire article will be displayed upon clicking the news title. So, fragment, make a new fragment. Let's give it news fragment. News fragment. Okay, finish. Ignore all this. This is just my Android Studio. We'll remove the unnecessary parts first. Let's get started with making the UI for the news fragment. So I'll be using relative layout for this. Okay, and let's set the background as white. India has bold. This will be the title of that news article, and we will be doing wrap content. Let's give it an idea title. This is very simple. Like we have already taught you this, how to manage UI, how to make a UI. So you can make it according to your own ideas. Okay, text color black. And next time, um, gold medal. Sorry. Margin top. We will apply. No, repeat. Okay, so this is the title for the news fragment, and for the content part we will be creating another text view, and here we will be giving the ID as content. Okay, and then India has one gold. Okay, let it be for now. Text size will keep it small, margin top, and we'll add one more line, that is below. Layout below @ID. Oh, sorry, @ID title. So it will bring that particular content below title. Okay, below the title text view. In this way, we don't have to keep it in horizontal. So shift it, and we can also add paddings to look, so that it looks good and more readable. So padding can be 50 dp from left, and then it can be 50 dp from right too. It's all up to you how you have to design. You can use your own creativity and design the pages. This is just the simple layout that we are giving. All right, so this part is done. You can include maybe any big paragraph you can include over here. I have just kept it as a single sentence just to show you that the UI has to be designed. So okay, so this part is done. The coding for this part is done. Now coming to the code for this news fragment, the Kotlin file, we will be using view binding over here too. And the same thing we are actually going to do. What we did in this, where did it go? List fragment.kt. Now the same thing we are going to do here for view binding. Okay, so I can just take some lines from here, and we can get moving with this. Now here you have to change this class. This is not, this is for list binding, right? So we need for news binding. See, the class was automatically generated and it was automatically imported to here, right? So you need to change that particular thing, and here you have to define the layout. Dot segment news. Okay, and the same thing has to be done over here. Binding equals to fragment news binding dot inflate. This will be inflator. Okay, and then we will be returning the root. Same thing that we did earlier, the same thing I'm doing right now. We have to even include the destroy view method over here. We'll just copy it from here and paste it. So the coding for news fragment and list fragment is done. So till now, do you have any doubts? Any doubts? Anyone? Okay. Can you? Okay, sure. Okay, fine. Should I show you this screen or some other code? Okay, okay. Tell me once you are done. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we have coded both the fragments. Okay, now we will move to navigation graph, the main thing for today. That is navigation graph. Now I will be giving you this dependencies that you have to add in your application. Okay. Okay. So this first two dependencies have to be added uh, in this file, in this module level file, in the dependencies part. These two lines has to be added over here, so that we can use the feature of navigation graph or the navigation component. Okay. After adding these two lines, we have to insert a plugin for SafeArcs. I've already explained you what is SafeArcs. So you have to insert the plugin over here. Once you have inserted the plugin and both the dependencies in the module level Gradle file, you have to go to the project level Gradle file and just a minute. And you have to copy paste this here. Here, before this repositories thing, you can copy paste this over here. This defines the version of your navigation component. So we will be using that here because so the class path has to come over here. Is it done? All the dependencies and class paths have you added? Nice. Now you need to sync your project. Whenever you do any changes in any Gradle file, you need to sync it. So sync it. It will take some time to sync this project. Okay, done. So now you can make a navigation graph. How to make it? I'll close this first because we don't use this. We don't need them. So we need to right click on res, go to new, and then create an Android resource file. We can name it as nav graph. And in the resource type, we have to give the resource type as navigation. Okay, and after that, click OK. Okay, so now as you can see, the nav graph is created, and this is the editor of the navigation graph. Here you need to put the destination fragments, which you can click on new destination, and then you can place fragment list over here, and then you can place fragment news over here. So side में, okay. So itna have you done? Have you placed the destination fragments in your navigation graph?
Like the Gradle sync is still in process for mine, but can I do this stuff? I have done it. Like I have added the list fragment and news fragment.
Actually, you can do this once your sync finishes. Only then you would be, able to use the navigation component, because we have added dependencies, and it gets downloaded when you sync it. The
But
package gets downloaded. Huh.
for me, it is showing the Gradle project sync in process, but I am able to do these things, which you have done.
Oh, okay, then it's nice. You can continue until it finishes. Okay.
Okay.
So, have you done this, by the way? Have you
Yeah, yeah.
added destinations and actions? Okay, nice. Okay, so now we have added the destinations and the action too. Now moving back to our main activity. This is our host activity, and here we have to define, here we have to make certain changes. Okay, here we have to define a fragment container view. So the fragment container view can be used to add a fragment by using the Android name attribute, which I will be showing. And the fragment container view can perform operations like, it can create a new instance of the fragment, or it can call the fragment dot on inflate method, or it can also execute a fragment transaction to add the fragment to the appropriate fragment manager. So this transactions, this fragment transaction, commit, begin transaction, all these methods, are used when you use fragments in your application, and all of these are explained very well in the units that we have provided to you, in the Android units that you have to complete. So you can go and check that out, and even you can perform those methods. Okay, so coming back, Android X dot fragment container view. Match parent, and let's give this an id Android id at the rate nav host fragment will do. And now let's give this name. Android X dot navigation dot fragment dot nav host fragment. Okay. And we will set one more thing over here, that is default nav host. Default nav host. True. So now this default nav host, when we set it to true, it allows the fragment container to interact with the navigation hierarchy. So for example, if the system back button is pressed, then the container will navigate back to the previously shown fragment, just like what happens, when a new activity is presented. So basically, it will navigate to the previously shown fragment. Hence, we are having this line of code over here. And the last line of code is, we include our navigation graph over here. Nav graph equals to @navigation, and we have added this attribute, right? Nav app nav graph, and we have set it to the navigation graph that we created just now. So this points to an XML file that defines how your app's fragments can navigate to one another, and that XML file is the nav graph file that we have created. So we have to define it over here. Okay. So is this part done? One minute. Okay, okay. I'll wait. In case you have any doubts, then you can let me know over here. Sorry. Do let me know once you are done. For your reference, I can. Okay, done. Nice. All right. So now let's move back to our host activity. That is our main activity. So until now, we have made the navigation graph. We have defined the fragment container view in our activity.xml, that activity main.xml file. Now we need to do some coding here as well. Okay, so let's start defining nav host fragment first. Nav host fragment equal to support fragment manager dot find fragment by id, and we will pass the id of the our fragment container view over here. Okay, that is nav host fragment. We have passed the id of the fragment container view over here as nav host fragment. So you're getting an error over here, so you need to import this. This can be done by clicking Alt, Shift, and Enter. Okay, so this will be imported. Okay, and then we have nav controller. Nav controller. I have already explained you in the slides, so I'll use that over here. Nav controller, nav host segment dot nav controller. Now here we are getting this error at nav controller. That's because we have not defined it over here. Private late init var nav controller semicolon nav controller. Nav controller. We need to import this class as well. So we will click Alt Shift Enter and it will be imported. Okay, so I already explained you nav host, right? Even I explained you nav controller. Now what is this nav host fragment? So this allows your fragment container view to navigate between fragments. Okay, so each nav host fragment has a nav controller that defines valid navigation within the navigation host. So this includes the nav graph as well as the navigation state, such as the current location and the backstack that will be saved and restored along with the nav host fragment itself. So इतना बड़ा paragraph का यही simple meaning है that this nav host fragment that we are using here is used to navigate between fragments. Okay, so it allows your container view basically to navigate between fragments. So okay, is this part done?
I am getting an error on the nav underscore host underscore fragment.
Here?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's showing
so
red
once
and it's asking me to create ID
no,
value
don't create
resource.
it. Don't create it. Go to your activity XML file.
Yeah.
Okay, so here what ID have you set?
Oh, I forgot to write it.
Yeah.
I will do that.
Yeah, do that so that we can go ahead. Let me know once you are done. After putting this line, this ID attribute, you won't be getting an error in your main file.
Yeah, done.
Error gaya, like is
Uh-huh.
that error? Okay, nice, cool. So this part is done. Now the last part that we have to do, okay, that we have to change is in the recycler view adapter. You must be having your recycler view adapter file. So only a small change is required over here, and then this app would be ready to use. Okay, So go to your recycler view adapter, and now you have to set an on-click listener. Okay, on-click listener on the items of this recycler view of this particular list. So for that, I'll write it. Wait. So folder dot item view dot set on-click listener. So we are setting this on-click listener on each and every item in that particular recycler view, or that scrollable list that you guys coded in the last session. Okay. So wall action list or list fragment directions. Now this list fragment directions is created automatically. Okay. As soon as you defined the destinations and the path between both the fragments, that is the list fragment and the news fragment, this is created automatically, and you will be able to find it if you just write the first letter or first word, or if you just write directions now, it will come in the suggestions. So on that we will be applying the action. This action list fragment to news fragment is also created automatically. So if you just write action now, you will see this particular action. Since we have only one action in our navigation graph, hence we can only see one option over here. Okay, if you had multiple actions in your graph, then you would have seen multiple actions to do. So we'll click on this action. So now you have stored that particular action in a variable called action. Okay, and now we will use this variable here. We find the nav controller and then dot navigate. Navigate, and we will pass the action that the system has to do to navigate from one screen to another. Oh, sorry. So is this part done?
Yes.
Okay, now I guess you are ready to run your application. I'll also run my application along with you guys, and I'll present my screen so that you can oh wait, I'll get my USB. You can also try running this on your phone or on your emulator if you have. I'll try it on my phone. Hope so we don't get any errors. It takes some time. Let's see. Okay. Great. So I was able to run this successfully on my device. Now it has actually installed as well on my device. So I'll share my screen and show you. Hmm. Share screen, start sharing, start now. Oh, okay, I don't have enough space. Just a second, I'll stop the sharing over here. So can you see my mobile screen?
Yes.
Yes, right. So I have already built that particular project and I installed it in my Android phone. Now let's check if I'm able to, use it. Where did it go? Huh. See, the first login page appears. I'll put some random stuff over here, and then I'll click on login. After logging in, you get this recycler view. Now this list is not an activity. This is a fragment. Okay. So if I click on one, then see, you get it. So the content page opens, and then like it opens for each and every items in the recycler view. Okay, so this is just an example that we are using the same headlines. In the next study jam, you will be you guys will be doing this coroutines, and you will be connecting your application to internet, wherein you will be using an API to get data from internet into your app. So at that time, these headlines will change, the contents will change, so you don't have to worry about that. It will be covered in the next session. So I guess this is done for me. This part is done by me. So yeah, Prasad, I am handing it over to you.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much, Reddy, for the amazing session. Um, so we have this is all we have for today's session. In the next session, we'll be learning retrofit. That is, we'll be connecting our app to internet, and under that, we'll be looking into coroutines, and we'll also be connecting our app to Firebase for user authentication. And one announcement I would like to make regarding our competition that we are holding. The problem statements have been released on the Slack channel. So if you guys have read that, we highly encourage you to start working on your apps. The submission dates are from 3rd to the 7th of January, and we'll be declaring the winners on the 8th. So any questions or any doubts, we are here for the next 10 to 20 minutes.